And hello, good dag or good day in the Viking tongue. Vikinger.
Hello, in the English tongue. How
Indeed.
Are you? Awfully nice to see you all.
I am Bragi.
And I'm Egil.
And I am the son of Magnar.
And I'm drinking a cup of coffee.
Cheers. Some days I let us drink coffee on camera.
That's big of you.
Could you imagine Vikings on coffee?
Yeah.
Now today you may be saying to yourself, whilst distracted by us drinking coffee, what are we here for today?
And I'm wearing my specs.
Turn the page over to the right page. We're here for another Folktale chat episode. And today we're going to talk about, well, folklore. And we're going to talk about hashtag Folklore Thursday.
Who'd have thunk it?
And then we're going to end up talking about the builder theme. From the walls of Asgard to Finn. And the building of Lund Church, and to other folk tales like the Devil's Ditch.
What were you going to say for a minute then?
Yes.
Yes.
So, hashtag Folklore Thursday. So do you know who they are, Egil?
Who?
The people behind hashtag Folklore Thursday.
No, I don't. Perhaps you'd like to explain.
There's a
to
group
me
of
and the
people,
viewers.
I believe there's 3 of them. And they have a website called Folklore Thursday.com,
right.
I believe. Been on it a couple of times, very good. And they write articles about folklore. And that kind of comes into what we do, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
And they have a Twitter account, and they have lots and lots of followers, thousands of followers, and they really do like our content. In fact, yesterday they gave us a heart, they gave us a love, because they love our content. So we'll send love back to you guys. Yeah. Thank you very much for supporting the channel and liking our content.
Do we know where they're from? England, America?
They are from England.
Oh, right.
I know very recently in Derby there was an actual international folklore kind of a meeting. I knew about it, and I did actually on the Facebook page leave a message saying, wow, this is quite amazing. Here you are having an international folklore meeting of the Folklore Society. And here we are within a mile, and what do? We tell folk tales.
And what did we do?
Traditionally.
We didn't go.
No, we didn't go because we didn't get an invite. But then again...
Oh, was it invite only?
Well, I don't know. I know Thomas found out about it a bit late, and I kind of probably should have chased it up a bit more, but we're still fresh, there's plenty of time.
It's always next year.
You know, we'll get an invite one day. But to tell some folk tales and talk about folklore.
Yeah.
So I just think it's great how we're being recognised for what we're doing. And at the end of the day,
yeah.
you want to be appreciated, don't you?
Of course. I mean, you don't want to do it and people go, yeah.
So I think that's really, really good. I'm slowly developing, you know, a community on Twitter and other social accounts like Instagram and Pinterest. So
this might be a chance for us to reach out to the people who run the conference.
yeah, well, they won't be on for another year, and I don't know where it's going to be. So
Oh, they'll be scanning the internet, don't
yeah,
worry.
well, there's plenty of time for that. So I just want to talk about that. I think that's great. So let's talk about our subject of folklore, and that is the builder theme.
It does occur in quite a few. I mean, I told the story about the building of the walls of Asgard.
Great telling.
So, I mean, these are only my thoughts. I mean, you think, what does a wall do? It stops things happening, moving forward.
Well, it's a massive symbol, isn't it, of power as well.
It may be that this was written, let's face it, all the sagas that we tell are from Snorri Sturluson, who was a bishop.
Indeed.
So he's not exactly going to promote.
But we
the
should be
old
thankful that he wrote them down.
I'm not
Yes.
complaining about
No.
that. But I'm just saying, be aware that they've been, I won't say censored. Because you want to promote your new religion and get rid of the old.
Well, of course so.
So
Out with the old, in with the new.
it's a bit coincidental that the gods keep getting fooled. But hey.
But you know, the builder theme, it's an interesting theme.
Well, it's not just walls. I mean, we've got bridges. Trolls living under bridges.
Yes, it reminds me of that Icelandic folktale. I forget the name of it now, but it's about a man who has to build a bridge, and he asks for the first thing that walks over the bridge. So the priest throws some dogs, I think, or is it some kittens on the bridge, and he ends up owning some kittens.
Yeah.
And this also reminds me of another folk tale from Kent of Jack and the Bridge, who has to build a bridge at night with the devil. And I got to complete the bridge in one night because...
Oh, we did this.
Yes, we did. We've got to do it again, actually.
Yeah.
So Jack and the Devil, they built the bridge, and if it's not built all in one go, then it gets dismantled in daytime. That starts again, and in the end, they built a bridge.
I think we've got some builders like that in Derby.
Or maybe so. Well, probably everywhere. But yet again, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's it's about the origins of where does something come from. And a good example of this is the tale from Lincolnshire, the Devil's Ditch. If you recall that folk tale, it is about a large ditch. It's a folk tale locally to explain why this ditch is there. And in the folk tale, there's a man who meets a stranger and he wants to build a road between these two places. And the devil says, well, you must get on a horse and you must ride between where you want the road to start and where you want the road to finish. But you must not look back, for if you look back, the road will go.
Yeah.
So he got on a horse and he started to ride and the road magically appeared. And he got towards the end and he couldn't resist but looking back. And he looked back and suddenly where there was a road, there was a ditch.
I think something like that may be an early attempt to explain archaeology in the landscape. You think the Romans built roads everywhere.
Well, of course so.
And of course, by the time the stories are being told, they were there, but they were all in bits. So.
But if you see a map of England and you see all the Anglo-Saxon ditches that were built, or probably even
Offa's Dyke.
yeah, or even earlier ditches, there's a lot of them.
Well,
and some of them are very long.
Well, I've got an ordnance survey map from that, which has been reproduced from that time. Because we had to have them when we were students.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. Is this a throwback to explain how some things are built?
I think what it is like, we actually found, well, it wasn't my dig, but they did find a Saxon skeleton where a wall of a villa had fallen down because it was the work of giants.
Yes, you've mentioned this a few times.
I'll probably mention it again.
You will do, yes.
But having said that, it explains a lot.
But it's interesting though, isn't it?
But what they're doing is they're trying to explain who built them, because if you're used to just building in wattle and daub and things, seeing these great bits of stone, you don't understand how they could have lifted them into place or how to maintain them. And, you know.
Oh, yes.
Same with the roads as well. I mean, you look at a Roman road, there are sections of them still
around today, yes.
We've got some round near us.
We do.
Street Lane, Kilburn. And,
well, you got the Chevin, that's a very old prehistoric roadway.
Ricknold Road as well. We've got quite a lot because Derby's halfway between London and York. So you've got the Great North Road and you have forts to protect it and lots of jolly little Roman soldiers marching.
So were these folk tales, did they originate to explain how a church was built or a Roman road was
big
built?
Structure, because you built in the Saxon times, you build in wood.
Of course so.
And there's this change when the Normans come from wood to stone.
I mean, stonework in the Saxon times, it was around, but it was limited.
It was not on a par.
I mean, a typical example of this are the stone crosses. Now, in a folk tale from Sweden called Finn and the Building of Lund Church, the giant hears about a priest coming to build a church, and he goes down, said, I'll build your church for you, but I want the price of the sun and the moon, if you recall this folk tale. And so the giant goes off to quarry a load of stone, and he ends up building the stone, and the priest is very worried because he thinks that, because if he doesn't have the price of the moon, he's going to take the eyesight of the priest. Now, you naturally at this, the priest would be very scared, and he could only keep his eyesight and not pay for the building if he could guess the giant's name, which is a common theme. And in the end, he went in the hills and he found a cave and overheard the giantess and the giant baby, and she mentioned the giant's name, Finn, and from therefore the priest understood the name and won. But if you was a local and you didn't live in Lund and you came, you saw the church for the first time, which is a lovely cathedral, still there today in Lund, the city of, was it a town? Not sure. How would you explain that?
Well, to be honest with you, the way you've told it, you can just imagine a vicar telling people who've never heard of Christian faith, because the Christians always come out on top. The giants, they always pay the price.
Yes.
And it's saying, I do it through my faith, and my faith wins every time. What about you lot? You see what I mean? It's
funny how giants build, but we don't hear about trolls building, do we? Really?
No,
I don't think I've ever heard of a folk tale.
It's like I say. I mean,
of a troll building.
If you imagine the areas today, you don't see much in the way of Roman ruins.
No.
In this time, they were still freestanding. They were quite high in height. You know, walls were still there and things like that. And it's the sort of thing you avoided because you heard old cousin Olaf had a wall fall on him. Who built it anyway? Who's responsible? Oh, it's the giants. In other words, I have no idea. Because you're about 200-300 years after the Romans left. And if you said the Romans, they wouldn't have known who the heck you were talking about. And this is something we forget in history today. We talk about the Normans, we talk about the Saxons, and we talk about Norwegians, Danes and Frisians.
And the Swedes.
Yeah, and if you'd spoken to a Viking at the time, they said, well, I belong to Olaf's ganger.
Yeah.
And you think, who the hell's that? Because Norway didn't exist, neither did Denmark. It's not until these countries are established that things quieten down on the Radian front, because they're too busy fighting to maintain borders. They also found, this is also one reason why Christianity took so quickly, that if you're a fellow Christian, then they're not likely to attack you. No, that's not the case. But it's worth a try, and also you could trade far more widely. So, you know, I mean, the Pope actually put out, I don't know which Pope it was, no doubt you could tell us, saying that you're not allowed to trade with pagans. So your Norseman would come in as Thor, with his hammer of Thor. We're in England, right, put a cross on. He'd come and be, I don't know, Peter. Then when he went out, we're going off to Islam, he'd put out, you know, you'd be having an Islamic name, and you'd be known by the people in the Islamic faith, and you could trade with them.
Well, this is why a Viking would carry a cross in his pouch.
You carry whatever belief system they did. I mean, all right, yes, they desecrated churches only because they were full of wealth, and the monks and nuns were obedient, made very good slaves.
Indeed.
They just thought of Jesus as another god, you know.
And the Viking wouldn't make a good slave then?
No, not at all. The average Viking would be rather surly, probably kill themselves rather than become a slave. Although the word slave comes from the Slavs,
yes,
who were supposed to be good slaves.
Well, of course, and another very mighty bunch of warriors, the Slavs. Let's not forget the Finnish. So, I think that's been very interesting. Now, if you've got any suggestions for any more of these folktale chats, which we'll be doing throughout 2019, and I think in 2020 we're going to start a new series called Folklore Chat. Because although in these folktales chats we often chat about folklore, but it's more to talk about the folktales, and often in these episodes we're going to sometimes pick one folktale just to talk about, because I think these chats are very interesting, and I know lots of folk enjoy them.
Well, I mean, it sort of puts flesh on the bones. I mean, anybody tells a story, but you want to know what's behind it.
Well, of course so. Which is why we always try to give you a bit more information when we tell a folktale when we can.
All right.
So, it is time to say goodbye on this episode.
Bye. Stay groovy.
If you are new, subscribe.
Hashtag.
And don't forget, click on the notification bell. By doing that, you'll be notified when we publish, when we premiere, and very rarely when we live stream.
They could also do hashtag fairytale.
Yes, you could leave a hashtag folktale chat, or hashtag folktale, if you want to leave a comment to support the channel.
And can I say, we will get back to you. It does take time because I'm not bragging. We have so many.
I try to keep pretty much bang on comments, but one of the problems with comments that sometimes yesterday was a bit of sample where I found a comment from about 8 or 9 months ago, which I didn't leave a reply to. So you do miss them now and again. It's just the way it goes.
Well, on that note.
Yes, he likes ending on a note.
Preferably a £10 note.
You'll be lucky.
50?
No.
1?
We've got 10p over there you could have.
Oh, well, I'll take that.
You would as well.
I would.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Good night.
Be groovy.
And In the wise word of the Saxons, ich thanke thee, I thank you.